What's happening, lads? Welcome back to the Copper Logic channel. Bit of a summer start to today's video, not gonna lie. And of course, that's because Liverpool's week didn't go too well last week. In fact, actually, I think it was only the fans that had a worse week. I am obviously referring to the massive blunder of the Caicedo and Lavia transfers that occurred over the weekend. You know, the incident where Todd Bowley handed Liverpool not one, but two of those. And if hearing that makes you mad, sorry. It's just a fact. Sometimes you've just got to take the L and take it on the chin and move on. Ultimately, we danced with knives and we got cut. What can you do? But anyway, I'm going to be looking into how catastrophic that was for Liverpool, my thoughts on it, and where we even go from here. So, where did it go wrong? Where did we mess up? Let's take a look from start to finish and see how many mistakes we made. I actually think the first mistake was probably not getting Lavia in before letting Henderson and Fabinho leave. Not only did the Saudi clubs take ages to finalise their transfers, and we could have been working on Lavia as that was happening, but we also left ourselves so exposed to the fact that we not only had no DM, so we're desperate, but also had money for their departures. If clubs wanted to, they could have whacked the price up for any of their players, and we couldn't say nothing because we just sold two players and got extra money we weren't expected to get. Plus, not only that, but we would have actually had a DM at this stage when realistically we've gotten on. But we also would have had him for pre-season games, and more importantly, we would have had him for the Chelsea game. Now, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but we might have actually got 3 points from that if we were a little bit more defensively confident. Also, we would have saved ourselves that Caicedo drama, because we probably wouldn't have got involved if we had Lavia. So there's that too. The next mistake was taking literally about a month to try and work down Southampton's valuation, and they managed to get it down by exactly £0. Good job, Liverpool. Good job. Time well spent. And then when it looked like we were going to do the 50, we decided, you know what? No. Let's go and spend 110 million on Moises Caicedo. The bigger overpayment, in my opinion. And probably the last transfer we would have had in the window, considering we need like 2 or 3 players. So, Liverpool, what are you doing? But that wasn't even the end of it. Once Caicedo had picked Chelsea, we went crawling back to Lavia and offered £60 million to Southampton, only for him to reject us and go to Chelsea. It was around this time I self-diagnosed myself with PTSD. Oh, and you thought that was the end of it? No. Then we briefed Joyce to say there was no agreement with Southampton, only for the sport director of Southampton to come out and say that there was an agreement. So I think it's safe to say that Liverpool miscalculated just a little bit. Anyway, on a real though, this whole saga has left me questioning what the structure is at Liverpool, and honestly, it's a pretty terrifying thought. Jamie Carragher briefly mentioned this on Monday Night Football, but basically, Michael Edwards, probably our best sporting director for time, walked not too long ago. His junior who stepped up into that role, Julian Ward, left 12 months after he did. And bear in mind, we still had another 12 months to go and find another one, and the best we could do is Jurgen's mate on a 3-month temp contract. And all he's managed to do is activate 1 release clause. McAllister was pretty much done by the time he got an offer, so that was mostly Ward's doing. Also, let's not forget that they were supposedly looking for investment, and that's gone cold. And it does make you wonder, what state is the club in? It seems like at every level of the hierarchy, there's rot somewhere, and it needs to be cleaned out before we get left behind. But now that all the negatives are out there, we've seen how bad we're in, let me reassure everyone, I've got a plan. Loose plan, but a plan, which is better than what we've had so far. So if your name's John W. Henry and you're watching this video, first of all, it's a bit weird, but secondly, listen up. First and foremost, we need to finish this transfer window strong. We've lost far too many people and not gained enough. We need at least 2 number 6s and 1 left-sided centre-back. Because you're a donut, we are going to have to overpay for some of these targets, but suck it up, Buttercup. And we need to be quick. No more taking days and days and days trying to figure out personal terms or wages or fees. None of that. Also, you need to put a lid on it. Can't have any more going for targets and them not ending up in a red kit. We've already doused ourselves in PR piss. Let's not ruin it anymore. Anyway, all that aside, let's have a look at the targets. Let's see who's left for us. First of all, Palhinha from Fulham. He's 28 years old, so he's a little bit older than most of the players on this list, but also would be a good option for at least 2 or 3 years. Does have 1 whole year of Premier League experience, so I suppose that's something. Will be quite expensive though, so I'd personally prefer to use that money on a longer term solution. Next up, Kefren Turan. Not naturally a DM, but he is a versatile midfielder. Has played there before in the past. I think with someone like him, we probably would need an actual out-and-out number 6, but wouldn't need to be as high quality. We already know we've agreed personal terms with him before, so unless he was like Lavia and has a chip on his shoulder for us walking away, should be doable. But again, at risk of being charged up. The next one is Andre. I really like this player and I actually think he'd actually do really well. I think he'd be one of those hidden gems. Looks like he has a lot of passion for the club he's in. Plays for the badge on his chest by the looks of it. Should be relatively cheap, but the only downside is we'd probably have to get him in January. Could be worth it though if we get someone in the meantime and then bring him in as reinforcements in January. Next is Sangare. Looked at this player before, so we clearly are interested in him, and he's got a £32 million release clause allegedly, so that should be good enough for York to get over the line. Don't think he'd be too bad an option for the price he would be, but you know, there's definitely better options in my opinion. Florentino Luis. I reckon of all of them, he's probably the one to hit the ground running the quickest. And I think he'd actually do really well improving under Jurgen Klopp, but I can see him being very expensive. Probably the one we'd be charged up most with. But if we wanted to make a point, he's one of them. Check Doucouré next. Again, overpriced and would be a bit complicated being in a Premier League team, but he does have a year Premier League experience and he is quite young. Basically, if Paulinho was 23. Definitely looks like to the fans he's the most favoured option, but I think with him we could only get another centre-back, and that would be us for the transfer window. And not only Thuram making a return this late in the season, Manu Kone. Again, not really an out-and-out DM, but can tackle really well. Should be relatively cheap, even being overcharged. The only concern is he has only just got back from injury, so is there a lack of fitness there? Who knows? And last up, Yusuf Fofana. Apparently we've already inquired about him and he should be relatively cheap. 24, so he's hopefully reaching that prime of his career by now. But I think if you're going to go for someone this cheap, you may as well get quite a few of them. And looking at defenders, there's really only one that we know of that's being linked to Liverpool most of the time. And that's Gonzalo Inacio. Again, same reasoning, he's very good left-sided centre-back. And he also has a release clause, so it'd be easy for York to sort that out. I think he's also one that would grow quite well under Klopp. So I'm absolutely fine if we go and get him. So if it was up to me, I would actually be cheeky and sign 4 of these players. Just not all right now. And yes, that is a spoiler that Andre is one of them. So the first one nailed on is Inacio. Very good defensive ability and also would thrive under Klopp. Release clause also makes it easier for him to get in quick. He's also left-footed and he's 21, so it is future-proofing, hopefully. Next, I'd take either Fofana or Sangare. For me, looking at both of their domestic stats last year, I actually think I might take Fofana. He should be cheaper, but he also looks better defensively according to his stats last year. He had better tackles, challenges, and blocks. He was also better at passing in general. And also based on stats, he was better in possession. Obviously, there is a bit of a trade-off in both of their leagues being different. One is the Eredivisie, one is Ligue 1. I'm not quite sure which one I'd say is harder. Maybe the Eredivisie just. But ultimately, in comparison, he was better at most things. It wasn't a huge difference in comparison, and I suppose Sangare does have that release clause, so it would again be quicker and easy to get him in. But honestly, either of them look decent to me. Obviously, as I revealed before, Andre would be the next one. Bring him in as reinforcements in January and start rotating him with Fofana or Sangare. We'd even then have the option to play 2 DMs if we wanted to play with like an attacking 4, for example. Should be relatively cheap as well, so shouldn't really be an issue to try and get him in. As I said before, I think he's one of those underdog signers. I actually think he's one that would blow up. So for that reason, he's in my team. My last one, and probably the one who's most expensive on this list, I'd go and get Thuram. We'd need someone who's versatile and who can play that DM role and swap with Fofana or Sangare up until January, and that would be Thuram. And even after that, that wouldn't be the end of him. He wouldn't be subject to a bench player at that point. In the Chelsea game, we didn't really look like we had that much depth. Obviously, we've got McAllister and Szoboszlai now, and they'll probably be our most used midfielders. But when we need to rotate them in, when we haven't got Thiago because he's injury prone, we start looking at like Harvey Elliott, Bajcetic, Curtis Jones. And I think Thuram would be a nice option to have rotate in every now and then or bring on from the bench. Not to subject them as only a bench player, but give us a bit of a headache picking the starting 11. Anyway, that's what you need to do for the transfer window. What you need to do for the behind the scenes bit. First of all, hire an actual sporting director, permanently. One that doesn't like to go and shout from the rooftops about all of our business, and one that can actually negotiate. One that has the ability to work on quite a tighter budget than most in our position, because I don't see FSG changing how they operate, to be honest. And one of them might not be available right now, but you can make one available. Ultimately, you might have to pay off another club's sporting director to try and convince them to join you. But it is possible, and it also may be worth it in the long run, especially if they do save you pennies going forward in the future. These are a lot less like transfers where you have to refresh it every couple of years. These are people who you actually will keep for quite a long time. So it's worth investing in a person and getting the right team around them. Michael Edwards did miracles for us, and it's going to be hard to find an exact replacement, but there is people out there that can do similar stuff. And while those replacements might not be available right now, you can go and make them available. If you go and try and convince the sporting directors of these clubs, like PSV, Dortmund, Sevilla, all those kind of clubs that manage to get in deals cheap. Not the ones that necessarily find the players, because that's more the job of the scouts, but the ones who manage to get those players in on the cheap. And the ones that can sell those players and turn them for profit at the right time as well. So it's probably more a team more than anything else, but if you get the sport director, they've probably got a decent team around them that they can bring with them, or that they would want to bring with them. Next, we do actually finally have a club doctor in Jonathan Power, but I'd make sure he's got the team around him he needs. We're not a team that's full of depth. We're not like a City or anything like that, or now a Chelsea, I guess. So we're going to need to keep our players fit as often as possible, and having a good medical team will definitely assist with that. Next, the scouting team, or at least the recruitment team, needs to be padded out. If we seriously operate on one transfer at a time like we have done all of this window, that's a tragedy. If you can't have one team focus on some outgoings and one team focus on some incomings, it takes ages to get any business done. And it just makes no sense. So if we're suffering from a lack of staff in our department, we need to get more in. And if it's not suffering from a lack of numbers, then we might need to actually up the quality of the people we're taking on in that role. The next thing, and maybe the most controversial thing I'm about to say, but maybe keep Jurgen separate from all of the, transfers and signings and stuff. At the start of the season, he was given more responsibility in that department, and that might just be because we don't have an actual sporting director that's permanent, so it might just be a temporary thing in order to assist, the current temporary sporting director. And ultimately, I don't know how much of it this season is actually his responsibility or his fault. But we've seen this before with clubs where they've gave the manager, who's really good as a manager, too much say and opinion in things, and ultimately it hasn't worked out. There's obviously that very infamous story from a couple of years ago where Klopp wanted Julian Brandt for Liverpool and Michael Edwards wanted Salah. Obviously, we ended up getting Salah, and what a decision that was. I don't want to base Klopp's whole decision making on that one instance. But it's clear at that time that the sporting director's decision to override Klopp and his preference was actually the better option. Klopp's forte is making players better, so just let him focus on that. Getting a sporting director who will challenge him on his decisions and say, no, I think this is better for the team. That's basically what Michael Edwards was, and it didn't go any wrong. Apart from Naby Keita maybe, but that was unforeseeable. And lastly, John, you better still be watching. Either start spending more money and investing, because that's the way the sport is going. It's all money driven now. Sell to buy, especially when you don't sell, doesn't work. Find investors, although that'll be hard to do, or sell the club, one of those three. We're not asking for much here. We know that FSG don't actually invest that much of their own money. I did a whole video on it, and it's clear that's the way the sport's going, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. We've just seen the Saudi League pack up their numbers, and they did that by giving their players ridiculous wages and also paying clubs ridiculous amounts of money. But anyway, back to the main point. Start investing, start finding investment, or sell a club. Oh, action, take risks. If you've got a decent team and there's no improvements made to the first team, improve the bench. Liverpool Football Club is a club that usually plays a lot of football, so we need legs. Otherwise, we'll end up back in a situation where we need rebuilds every 3 years, 4 years. But anyway, that's how I think you fix Liverpool Football Club. I do want to clarify, I am not an expert to any degree. I'm not an expert in business, I'm not an expert in football transfers, I'm not an expert in coaching. This is merely a fan point of view on what I think we do bad as a club and where I would go about improving it if I was given control. So let me know if you do agree or disagree in the comments down below. For both sides about the players we could potentially bring in for the remaining time of the transfer window and all the backroom stuff, drop it down there. But that's going to be it for this video, so if you did enjoy it, please leave a like down below. All the interaction you guys are giving on the videos at the moment, we absolutely love. It's inspiring us to make more videos, and we absolutely love it at the moment. It's absolutely sick vibes. No, but genuinely, we do actually love reading all you guys' comments and seeing what you guys like and dislike about the channel, basically. So I do want to give an actual genuine thank you to all of you guys that subscribe, that like, that comment on all of our videos, because it's inspiring us to want to do this more and we really enjoy it. Also, don't forget to sub with notifications on, because as I said, we're getting 4 players in, so you're going to want to be around for that. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. In a bit, lads.